There's a moment right before a storm hits, when the sea goes quiet, the wind drops, the waves flatten, the world holds its breath. Sailors say that's when the bravest men either freeze or act. And in that suspended silence of the Atlantic, sometime in the early 1800s, one man never froze, ever. His name was Thomas Cochrane, and every pirate, privateer, and admiral across Europe knew exactly what that meant. Trouble was coming. Today, we journey into the life of a man so outrageously bold, so tactically brilliant, and so stubbornly defiant of authority that he became the real-life inspiration for fictional legends like Jack Aubrey and Horatio Hornblower. This is the story of the Sea Wolf, a naval commander, a political firebrand, a man who fought empires, sometimes literally, and who refused to bend, even when entire governments tried to break him. Thomas Cochrane entered the world on December 14, 1775, in Scotland. Born into an aristocratic but financially crumbling family, Cochrane grew up surrounded by big ideas, big pride, and very little cash. His father, the 9th Earl of Dundonald, was an inventor, brilliant, eccentric, and perpetually unlucky. The family's fortunes rose and fell depending on whether one of his wild inventions succeeded or disastrously failed. This unstable upbringing shaped Thomas more than he probably realized. He inherited the brilliance, the stubborn streak, and the appetite for risk. But he also learned early that the world didn't hand you anything unless you fought for it. At 17, Cochrane joined the Royal Navy. What they got was not a polished aristocrat eager to play politics, but a fiercely competitive young man with a mind made for strategy and a talent for thinking faster than anyone else in the room, or on the deck, or in the entire fleet. And soon the ocean became his arena. Cochrane's rise began aboard small ships, the places most officers hated to be assigned, but he loved them. Tiny vessels required creativity, daring, and tactical improvisation. While other captains set their sights on huge ships of the line, Cochrane preferred a nimble sloop with a good crew and enough sail to run circles around anyone foolish enough to chase him. He got command of the HMS Speedy, a ship so small and so painfully underarmed that most officers treated it like a punishment. Cochrane, though, he turned it into a weapon. Picture this. It's 1801. Europe is in the grip of the Napoleonic Wars. The Spanish ship Gamo, a massive 600-ton warship with 32 guns, spots a tiny British speck on the horizon, the 14-gun HMS Speedy. By all logic, the Speedy should turn and flee. Instead, Cochrane sails straight at the Gamo. His crew thinks he's mad. The Spanish think he's surrendering. And then, at the last second, Cochrane swings in close. So close, the Gamo's guns can't even angle downward enough to aim at him. It's the naval equivalent of hiding in someone's blind spot. Cochrane grapples, boards, and captures the enormous Spanish warship with a crew 1/6 the size. The entire naval world goes silent. How did he do it? Tactics, guts, and an instinct for knowing exactly when the enemy will blink. That battle became legend, but Cochrane wasn't done, not even close. During his naval career, he developed a reputation that oscillated between genius commander and massive headache for the admiralty. His tactics were too unconventional, his victories too embarrassing for the enemy, his mouth too unfiltered for his superiors. Cochrane called out corruption, incompetence, and waste within the Royal Navy, and he did it publicly, loudly, and with a kind of self-confidence only a man who routinely took down ships twice his size could wield. But Britain wasn't ready for a truth-teller with gunpowder still on his hands. In 1814, he was caught in a scandal, accused of stock market fraud connected to a false report about Napoleon's death. Cochrane insisted he'd been framed. The trial was messy and deeply political. He was found guilty, kicked out of Parliament, stripped of his naval rank, and marched to prison. Whether he was innocent remains debated, but many historians view the charges as retaliation from powerful figures he'd humiliated throughout his career. The establishment wanted him contained, and, for a brief moment, they succeeded. But Cochrane was not a man who stayed contained. While the British government tried to bury his career, three young nations came knocking: Chile, Brazil, Greece. They all wanted one thing: independence, and they wanted Thomas Cochrane to help them get it. He said yes. Imagine being so good at naval warfare that three different countries ask you to help them create their entire navy from scratch. Cochrane sailed to Chile first, where he transformed a ragtag fleet into a disciplined force capable of challenging the Spanish Empire. He pulled off one of the boldest moves of his career, a surprise night assault on the fortress of Callao, one of Spain's strongest naval bases on the Pacific coast. Again, the world expected failure. Again, Cochrane delivered victory. Then Brazil hired him, and he helped secure its independence from Portugal. Then Greece called, asking him to support their war against the Ottoman Empire, and so the Sea Wolf continued carving his legend across three continents. Eventually, Britain realized maybe they'd been a little hasty in discarding him. In 1832, King William IV pardoned him, restored his rank, and welcomed him back into the Royal Navy. Cochrane would serve again, eventually rising to Commander-in-Chief of the North American and West Indies Station. The establishment that once rejected him now proudly displayed him as a hero. But Cochrane was never the type to simply fade away. He spent his later years still inventing, still writing, still pushing against the boundaries of his era. When he died in 1860, he was buried in Westminster Abbey, the final stamp of honor for a man Britain once tried to disgrace. Time has a sense of irony like that. Thomas Cochrane's life reads like an adventure novel because it inspired them. He was brilliant, reckless, brave, stubborn, strategic, and hopelessly addicted to justice, or at least his version of it. He fought empires, defended newborn nations, humiliated corrupt leaders, and shaped naval warfare in ways still studied today. Some men live quiet lives, others create waves. Cochrane, he created storms and sailed straight through them, grinning like a man who knew he'd never freeze when the sea went silent.